Welcome back to the Williams Real Estate Channel. I'm your host, Geordie Williams, and today we are unpacking a depreciation schedule. What is it? What's the purpose of it? What are the benefits of it? So basically, a depreciation or capital allowance and tax depreciation schedule, the one that you see here that I've got for one of my properties, is basically a report that a quantity surveyor will do to calculate the amount of capital improvements to a property that can be used to minimize the amount of tax you pay at the end of every financial year. So legally, you're allowed to depreciate capital improvements and capital works. So this can either be done by depreciating a whole property if it's brand spanking new, if it's been bought new and off the plan or brand new, or if you do any cosmetic renovations to the property. So if you do a new kitchen or bathroom, you can then get a report done to quantify the capital improvements. So in this case, 54,000 was the capital improvements to this property that I have done, and I am claiming the losses being the depreciation, so the fair wear and tear over typically I believe it's 40-year period that you're allowed to claim it as a cost, even though that cost doesn't materialize. So you can claim that as an additional cost to running the property to reduce your tax bill. So I'll show you the property to start. This is a house, freestanding house I bought out in Lithgow. So the house was built in 1920s. So all the structure, the roof, and all this wasn't able to be included in the depreciation, as you can only claim up to 40 years or so. But the renovations that have been done to the kitchen, flooring, paint, that are all new, that have been done in the last five or 6 years, are claimable. So as it's a nice and neat, tidy little place, the kitchen is where I got the depreciation report completed once the works have been completed. So then I can claim the fair wear and tear to the property as I own it. So 54,000 was the total amount that the quantity surveys did. So this renovation was done prior to myself buying it. You can also use the actual quotes from builders as well to proof up how much your renovations cost. So then you can claim a percentage, and in this case 2.5% every year for the next 40 years. So then this goes on to my tax return for this specific property, and every year I get to claim an additional $1,300.65. So $1,300 and 65, 1,300 bucks um, every year until the capital improvements are completed. So this is a good way to minimize how much tax you pay if you've got multiple properties and you're generating a positive cash flow. So it minimizes how much tax you pay. However, it's not a reason to go out and buy a property. So you may see, I mean, a lot of spruikers out there saying buy something like this, as you can claim the tax depreciation of the whole asset over 30, 40 years. But the reality is, it's like the cherry on the cake. When you invest in property, you need to bake the cake in. So it's not a reason to invest. It is a perks, it is a benefit, but it's not a sole reason to go out and buy an asset just so you can claim the depreciation. Because if you go out and say buy something like this for claiming the depreciation to save some tax, but on the flip side, it would be a heavily negative geared property as $800 a week. So let's run some numbers. Call it 800, even if it's $1,000, but say 800. So 800 times 52 divided by 1.8 million times 100, 2%. So 2 to 3% yield for something like this, which you'll get locked up with finance. The banks want to see your portfolio being self-sufficient and positive and growing. Sure, you can claim some depreciation and minimize probably on something like this, 20 grand, 15, 20 grand a year off your tax bill. but still you'd be in a very negative position. Whereas in my scenario where I suggest getting a tax depreciation report done, sure, claim it, claim the additional improvements, but it's a cherry on the cake. It's 230,000. Today it's renting for $400 a week, so 400 times 52 equals 20,800 divided by 230,000 times 100 equals 9%. So this is why I've been able to keep scaling and moving forward and buying multiple properties every year, is because and then we also get the tax depreciation report done, added perks when we do renovations, but it's not a reason to go out and buy a property. So that is a big thing that I guess a lot of spruikers out there push when selling sort of this new stuff. And it's one of their fancy perks. They'll give you a fancy shiny brochure and say, look at all the depreciation you can claim. It's not a reason to go and buy it. I'd rather go buy something that I can't claim anything on in terms of depreciation than something like this that you can claim everything, because you'll get stuck with finance and you won't be able to scale. And as something like this is not a sufficient asset to keep leveraging and buying and growing, because the developer takes all the profit by the time he builds the land, buys the land, builds the block of units, pays the tax, depreciation, interest holding costs, profit in the jobs, everything. This unit would cost probably $1 million to build, 900, 900 to $1 million. I mean, it's not super high end, so probably a bit less, maybe 700, 800, and they're selling it for $1.8 million. So the intrinsic value for a unit like this is around 700,000, 800,000 by the time they build it, and they're flogging it for 1.8 million. So they're making nearly 40-50% margin on the job, but the person who buys it will be left hanging for many years until the market moves to the next level, maybe 15 odd years until the market moves, because there's no equity on day one. If not, there's negative equity because you're overpaying, paying a premium for an asset that will take many years to build up any substantial equity and keep growing moving forward. Sure, you have your tax depreciation, but that is not a reason to invest. I can't harp on about that more so. I see it time and again, people getting conned into buying new stuff just because you can claim some tax depreciation, and they wonder why they can't get past their first or second investment, is because they've maxed themselves out, bought something like this that's in a very negative geared position. The banks don't want to lend them any more money, and then they get stuck. Don't do it. Go out and buy established properties, just like this, houses in the regions, sub 400, units in the metros, sub 350. And then once you sort of go to 500 grand mark, we then look at duplexes. So 2 properties on one site. Once you get to about 600 grand mark, we're looking at blocks of 3s. Once you get to about 700, 800, that's when we're looking at blocks of 4s, unit blocks and above. Sky's the limit, but we like to stick to well under the replacement value with a cash flow. And then once you do your cosmetic renovations, get the reports done, claim what you can, but it's not a reason to buy an investment just so you can claim some tax. It's the wrong way to do it. It'll get you stuck. You want to build your portfolio to be a cash machine that will make money. Yes, you'll pay tax on the money you make, but you'll be able to keep growing and scaling and moving forward as the banks will continue to lend you more money so you can build your solid residential foundation portfolio, self-sufficient, that will tick away in the background, will only complement your lifestyle and not be a drain or a large boat rigger anchor holding you down for many years, not adding or complementing your lifestyle. So get in touch today if you need help buying a self-sufficient property like this. Happy to chat. Until next time, thank you for watching.